Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Don't all breathe at once. You'll take my breath away. I'm a proud Wiradjuri man. There's a little town, central west, 4.5 hours from here. Old Southern Wales, WHALES. There's nothing new about this place. That's where my family come from, Wiradjuri country. There's a little suburb very close to here called Redfern, the block. That's where I was born. So famous, they named a TV show after it. I think some of you know the one. All these things keep happening, you know. We create these amazing things and people just appropriate them. That's all right. We can deal with that. So with your permission, I'm going to share with you some words that have had a profound impact on me. The power of words. I will recite some from authors so that I can do justice to their words and their meaning. I will acknowledge my elders, past and present, from Wiradjuri country, from Gadigal country, for keeping our communities and cultures alive and well. I also acknowledge my Aboriginal brothers and sisters from wherever it is you come from. And I also acknowledge all of you from wherever you come from around the world. Your heritage, your cultures and your spirituality. My acknowledgement extends to the sacrifices our elders made and the paths they forged too. It's really fitting that we're here tonight in this Mitchell Library, surrounded by all these words. And that's part of the impetus for me to share. We are country, and country is us. Some of you may have heard of the terms around designing with country, respecting country, caring country. If you're not respecting, designing, connecting, caring with us, you're not doing any of those things. I worked at the City of Sydney, as Eleanor said, for 20 years. There was no rule book. Instinct and intuition, which we'll come to. Benefit to our people was my North Star. What did that look like? I had to feel my way through that. But part of our ideology is predicated around relationship with one another, relationship with our environment. So again, I'm just going to share some experiences that have had a profound impact on me personally, but also professionally, and that will continue to. The first book is by an author called Terry Breverton, and it's called Immortal Words. I don't know if anyone knows this, but it's basically chronologically written through the ages and how philosophy has impacted. And Confucius is one of those ones that stuck out to me. Everything has beauty, not everyone sees it. And that's one of the pieces that really stuck with me when I was working at the city and in everything I do. The other one is, by 3 methods, we may learn wisdom. Not we will, we may. The first, by reflection, which is noblest. The second, by imitation, which is easiest. And the third, by experience, which is bitterest. And that's where I had this profound moment. My heritage goes back 50,000 years unbroken on this continent. It's hard, you can't comprehend it. The spirituality, the knowledge, the wisdom, the experience. So that just jumped out at me. And I made up this saying. It might rustle a few people here, but you know what? You can buy education, but you can't buy wisdom. So with humility and contrition, how do we create a space for that to complement our education? And for those who know me, I can get a little bit jokey and cynical, and I went to a Catholic boarding school and I call it Feducation. Glad you like that one. All words are made up, right? So I thought I could make up a few of my own. I really like that one, including some of these beautiful sayings. So the reason I chose Terry first, and I'll just share with you the intention. The intention of the book is to give a sense of power of words to move us. The inclusion of some of the remarkable quotations have been passed down over the centuries. Over the last 4.5 millennia, humankind has been inspired to humility, compassion, fortitude, bravery, and above all, progress by the spoken and written word. The absolute power of language across nations to make us feel compassion, sadness, all the emotions, is probably the greatest achievement of humanity. For humankind, language is our greatest, perhaps our only, weapon against injustice, inequity and war. I am the sum total of all my experiences, just like you. Again, we come from tens of thousands of generations of wisdom. Notice I don't use the word years. They exist, but generations. The second book, some of you may know, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural. He's written many. We know that the heart, beyond its obvious role in sustaining life, is not simply a muscular pump that moves blood throughout our body, but an organ capable of influencing feelings and emotions. The heart is a sensory organ that guides our decision-making ability as well as our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. It's a symbol that transcends time, place, and culture. It's a commonly accepted premise that when we are connected to the heart's inner knowing, we can tap into its wisdom as a source of love and higher guidance. And many of you know the saying from Nelson Mandela, many of them beautiful sayings. Talk to a man in a language he understands and it goes to his head. Talk to a man in his language and it goes to his heart. Moving beyond intellectual understanding to emotional connection and trust. Some of you also may know Professor Marcia Langton. What an incredible person she is. AO. She wrote the foreword for the first astronomers. When profound ideas are introduced to the world for the first time, our world is fundamentally changed and the previous understandings consigned to history. The idea the only true science is that of Western thinking must be consigned to history. I think we all know Uncle Bruce Pascoe, Dark Emu. Very fitting that in the cultural calendar of the here and now, in the night sky, the Dark Emu appears at this very point in time. Tonight, in that book, the very first line, Europeans look at the stars. First Nations people look between the stars. So I see this as an opportunity to invite us all to look between the stars, together, into the past, the here and now, and into the future. What does the greatest expression of ourselves look like as a nation? We hear Team Australia this, we hear all these different things, but I've never heard that beautiful invitation for us to maybe let go of what we may have been educated or indoctrinated or learned, and sometimes we need to unlearn in order to relearn. Let's stop sleepwalking into our future. Stop denying, dismissing and denigrating First Nations people and their knowledges, and call out those who do. An example, many of you may remember, I think the Menindee fish lakes, it's happened again. The first time, the 1 million fish, I don't know who counted them, but I know that it got pretty rancid after a while. I'm certainly not going to count them. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it's 1 million. And there was a leader who said, we can't make it rain. I don't know about you, but that patronises my intelligence, and there's not much of it. But I think that's pretty lazy. I actually call it coercive, corrosive control. What does the greatest expression of ourselves look like again? I draw on my past to paint the picture of my future, and I think that's a gift for us all. I don't think I know. Many of you also know Einstein, and I tell you what, I had to pull out the big guns when I was working in a place in a colonial institution. And I mean no disrespect. I worked with the city, not at it. I talk with your soul, not your role. There's a very different, see the relationship. A lot of these institutions are built on the task. If the task damages the relationship, that's where I see the work. And that's what I've learnt in life, that what a beautiful offering that is. But again, humility and contrition are those things that need to guide us. So I used to have to pull on the big guns, and one of them, of course, was Einstein, call on the big guns. And his definition of insanity suggests doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. You all know that's pretty funny. So when I used to hear the words, you know, we've got to do more, I would gently remind myself, but invite people, no, if you're just going to do more of the same, we're going to have more of the same outcomes. What our aspiration should be, I see you more and I raise you to better, and articulate what better means. So in this context, for me, it's about having the humility. Look around the room. If you do not see First Nations people in that room where decisions are being made for us, without us, speak up. So the opportunity, notice how I didn't say the problem. The colonial project refers to me as the problem, refers to our people as the problem. I've never adopted that, and I resent it and I push back on it. Everything is an opportunity going forward. But let's co-create that space. And if First Nations people aren't in there, that's where the work is, to create the value proposition, dignified, authentic, respectful relationship. And often in these task-orientated institutions, that's missed. Again, that's where the work is. So there's a term, centering our voices, and that basically translates to First Nations people in all levels of governance, senior management, all those levels of governance, governments. That's where the opportunities lie going forward. Another really powerful concept I want to share with you too is Indigenous ideology is predicated around power in creation. Western ideology is power over creation. If you only have to look at the last 200 years on this continent to see the devastating effects of what that has diminished this whole country to the lowest common denominator of the colonial project. The treatment of First Nations people and the treatment of the environment. There is no coincidence within that. Sadly, there was an offer and invitation to do better, to create a voice. And I used to say when I was at the city, we did these information sessions with communities. And I said, when we get our voice back, Mother Nature will get her voice back too. Sadly, that didn't happen, as we know. The percentage was very high that the Yes campaign, because the city committed to that. But unfortunately, it feels like we took 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So I feel that very powerfully. Indigenous ideology is power in creation. Western ideology is power over creation. I used to always say this again: move away from the platitudes and create that latitude. That means inviting us in to those decision-making processes. Again, where are we operating from and where are we orientated to? With humility and contrition, transition from cause and effect to effect a cause. Pretty powerful. Trust is the greatest enabler. Our brains are 2% of our body mass and consume 20% of our energy, more than any other organ in our bodies. Our brain is constantly relaying data, processing from our external universe into our internal universe. 10 steps ahead of ourselves every step of the way, 100% of the time, otherwise known as survival mode. Pretty unique. The brain uses what it knows to understand what it doesn't know. The law of association. How much do we truly trust and understand the majestic gift of our unique natural intelligence? How much do we truly trust and utilise this gift in this quantum existence of infinite possibilities? Again, surrounded by so many words. Our natural intelligence has a beautiful sacred geometry that nurtures her. Curiosity, creativity, experience, discussion, dialogue, reason. And I always say, you've got 2 eyes for 2 reasons: instinct and intuition. Go with your instinct and be guided by your intuition. Our natural intelligence is that beautiful sacred geometry. It's an infinite confluence of words that celebrates what it truly means to be humans being. Mother Nature is the greatest storyteller of all. Our living cultures are a direct reflection of her. When practiced the way it was intended, it has true meaning, not just meaning to be true. So that's my aspiration. In closing, I'd just like to offer up again some aspirational thoughts. I do keep coming back to the question, what does the greatest expression of ourselves look like? We all have our needs and our wants. Some just want more than they need. And 2 very powerful questions from a very dear friend of mine, Uncle Phil Bly, an elder. How do we live in this land with joy? And how do we graft onto what was already here? So thank you very much. Have a lovely evening.